Hello everyone and welcome to the Backtracking episode proper for Evanescence, and we'll start with the band's debut album, Fallen. Released in 2003 through Wind Up Records and Epic Records, it would be produced by Dave Fortman. So, as I alluded to in my very brief history video, it took 8 years for this album to come out in full, and to be fair, most of this album's songs were on the several EPs that would precede it. There was also the fact that Ben Moody and Amy Lee wouldn't write a lot together, and to quote the guitarist, they wrote maybe 2 or 3 times in 8 years. Still, I like to think that the time was worth it. It begins with what I believe was my first Evanescence song in Going Under, and yeah, if you know anything about this album, then I don't really need to say anymore, but I have a video to make, so screw it. It's a really great showing of the band's gothic-leaning style, done differently to anything that came out in that time period, which I suppose is due to 2 aspects. First, a female lead singer that could sing without turning like she was angry, and secondly, the glossy as all hell production. This is honestly a really well put together album despite the memes that it would spawn, and it's not just down to how well Dave Fortman does. Amy Lee is a very elegant vocalist, and in a world where a lot of people focus on how the female vocalist looks, it's nice to have someone who doesn't lean super hard into her sexuality. She's even been respected for that fact, and I'm part of that group that does the respecting too, so yeah. That aside, the instrumentation and lyrics are pretty good, the former providing some nice work that creeps into your skin, and the latter speaking of things like sadness, pain and uncertainty, with Amy talking openly about those issues. My favourite song goes to Haunted. This album still holds up 17 years after it was released, and there is plenty of reasons why it's so popular, so if you've been living underground, then I recommend you find this one out. It's got a lot more going for it than the memes would suggest. Next is the band's second album, The Open Door. Lovely reference there. Released in 2006 through Wind Up Records, it would be produced by Dave Fortman again, and be the band's first album with a full lineup, with the addition of John LeCompt, Will Boyd and Rocky Gray. So this album, oh boy, I don't say that phrase for a particularly bad reason, but there was a lot of bad circumstances that happened to surround this album. The departure of Will Boyd, Ben Moody leaving and being replaced by Terry Balsamo, who suffered a stroke, not to mention the band's manager passing away. 2006 was just a really shitty year in general to be Evanescence. But they managed to put out this album, which starts with the Grammy-nominated song Sweet Sacrifice, so at least the band didn't come out of it too terribly despite what happened going in. It's already a sort of new step for the band though. Part of the reason why it took this album longer than usual, besides the bad luck, was that Amy Lee didn't want to rush things and wanted to take time. That included using new influences on the sound, which kind of work actually. There's the choir stuff and more gothic-leaning style of their debut, that's for certain, but there's also more symphonic elements which actually really suit the style, and Amy Lee's voice sounds great and matches that new sound up so swiftly. It's the new things tried that sound natural within the context of the band's sound, and I love it when that happens, even more so when it works so damn well like it does here. Obviously the band themselves still sound really good, powering through the bad times, a theme which is reflected quite a lot in the lyrics. The theme of being more hopeful could be due to the experiences prior to the album's release, and it wouldn't surprise me if that were the case. And producer Dave Fortman again does good work on his end, although in my opinion not really to the same standard as the band's debut, but maybe that could just be me, I don't know. It probably is just me. My favourite song goes to Cloud 9. The Open Door is a solid follow-up to a debut that had big shoes to fill, even if there is still some wiggle room here and there, but you know what? Considering what happened beforehand, the band really salvaged it as well as they could, and it sounds pretty good regardless. And finally, we cover Evanescence's third album, Evanescence. There's the running gag. Released in 2011, it would again come out through Wind Up Records, and would this time be produced by Nick Raskulinecz. So after the release of The Open Door, the band toured a lot for it, going to Canada, Australia and Japan, which was quite nice. What was less nice was, oops, more bad luck happened to happen. John LeCompt had been Future and Devon and Rocky Gray quit, and the band went into hiatus for a bit before returning with new members Tim McCall, Troy McLaughlin and Will Hunt. There was also the fact that Steve Lillywhite was originally supposed to produce this album, but creative differences put a kibosh on that and Nick Rascal was brought in instead. The album starts with What You Want, and to be fair, yeah, this sounds like an Evanescence album. It's unique in the way that it diverges from the heavier stuff of their debut even more than The Open Door did, but at this stage the band don't really need to do anything new. But when they do something new here, it's quite nice, adding more electronic, even more symphonic elements that work again because Amy Lee's just so damn good as a performer and as a vocalist. Nick Rascal is, as you know, one of my favourite producers, and the dude brings out a lot that I feel like Dave Fortman was holding it back a bit on, as good as he was for them. Instrumentally, it's got that glossy, lovely sounding mix of nice riffage and heavy drumming, and the new band members blend in really well. And lyrically, again, it's personal about Amy Lee's relationships, her mental struggles, the struggles of getting this album made and so on, and that is always a reliable and strong well to draw from. My favourite song goes to The Other Side. The band's self-titled third album is another well-structured, beautifully performed and nicely written bit of work, further establishing a core sound for the band that works and continues to sound great. Now, before I actually properly sign off, I do want to point out why I didn't get this video done yesterday. It's because, well, I had to move stuff in my room. You might have noticed that I've got, sort of a different element to the background, that element being the fact that I've got a new settee. That isn't so crap, and actually, oh, I have so much room now. So much more room. Yeah, but basically yesterday we were just getting rid of the old one and I was getting this new one in, so yeah, I thought I'd give a quick explanation as to why before actually doing the sign-off, so now I'm going to do that. So yeah, that's the episode all done. I would have done Synthesis, but as that's an album containing new versions of old songs and I don't normally count that stuff, then Sorry if you're expecting to see it here, but no, ain't doing it, sorry. For the next episode of Backtracking, I'll be covering Sydney, Australia's own Tonight Alive. As for the next thing that's actually happening on this channel, it might be a Fight of the Night review this weekend, and then after that will be PBW, and then like next Friday is going to be resolutions per minute too, not revolutions. And yeah, basically, there will be another Backtrack episode out at some point within the next couple of weeks. Hopefully before August begins. I don't really know. I can only hope. But as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.